The Yukon in northwest Canada is a wild, icy, deserted territory. The largest glacial zone in the world after that of Antarctica is located here on the border between the Yukon and Alaska. This is the kingdom of wind, water, and ice. The beauty of this hostile world reflects the great chaos of our origins. The Yukon is a reminder of what the planet must have looked like before life and man appeared.
Okay.
This inhospitable region is home to the mushers, dog sled drivers. In the Yukon's boundless white expanse of virgin territory, they have found the ideal terrain to indulge their passion. "1,000 miles, more than 1,600 kilometers. This is the distance that Marcelle is capable of covering with her dogs in 12 days, alone and unassisted. 1,600 kilometers in temperatures of -40 in winter, when daylight lasts just a few hours.
I suppose you could say I specialize in long-distance racing. It's a full-time endurance sport because the dogs have to be trained just like athletes. I consider myself like one of them. I can tell how dogs think, I know how they live, all of that. It's in my blood. I've been like this since I was very small. It's easier for me to live with dogs. They have so many qualities I love. They're generous, strong, hardworking, efficient, and they're affectionate too. There are a lot of reasons I love these dogs. It's paradise here. I love wide open spaces. I also love the cold and the long winters. There's everything a sled dog lover could want. It's such an adventure. Some people set off in their cars with their little pet dog. I set off with my whole team, and I love it. Each dog has its own compartment with straw. They're used to it. They know that when we leave the ranch and I put them in their compartments, that means they're going to go sledding in the snow.
In spring, Marcelle has to travel for miles before she can hit the snow. She comes to train at White Pass, which was the route the gold prospectors took. Today, the region is deserted once again. There are only 30,000 inhabitants in the Yukon.
Très bien. Good.
When you head off on your sled, it doesn't take long to get far away. If you were to come walking around here, you wouldn't see any little paths. No signposts telling you the station is so many miles away, the next restaurant is there. There's nothing at all, not even any tracks. You don't see any bridges either. In summer, you have to ford the many rivers, and the water's not warm. When you set out in winter, you're isolated very quickly, and you have to get by and survive. That's important here.
Ici, c'est important. Eh bien, good. Bien body. Doucement, c'est bien. Good. J'utilise toujours.
I always use positive training methods. I'm not a trainer. I'm not interested in telling a dog, sit, lie down. I work on the qualities of the dog itself. A sled dog wants to pull a sled. So I exploit this quality as well as I can.
Marcelle is the leader of the pack. She manages all the conflicts between the dogs with their various sensitivities. She also determines their position according to their personality. The lead dogs play a major role. They relay the musher's orders to the rest of the pack.
Apache, the brown dog who was in the front there, doesn't really feel at home in the spring snow. So I'm taking advantage of that to try out a young dog. She's really proud. You can just see her thinking, oh, my turn has come. We don't have a set schedule. We adapt our pace to suit the dogs. When they're tired, we stop. Or sometimes, if I'm tired, we stop. I try to be independent because you have to be able to get by in the woods. It's so peaceful among the wide open spaces. And I love being with my dogs in the woods. And also nowadays, you have snowmobiles, which are great. But sled dogs have been around for a long, long time. And in the future, sled dogs will still be around, whereas snowmobiles won't. So that's why I carry on sledding.
Marcelle shares everything with her dogs. And in the evening, she even beds down with them in the middle of the forest. The territory that Marcelle crosses with her dogs has not always been as sparsely inhabited as it is today. In August 1896, the American George Carmack crossed the Klondike River in the center of the Yukon. While he was resting on the bank of a stream, Carmack was suddenly intrigued by a flash of yellow in the stream bed. He had just discovered a gold nugget. The news spread along the Yukon River and then to the rest of the world, triggering a gold rush. Thousands of adventurers made their way north. Only two routes led to the dream of fortune, a sea route and a land route. An inscription on one of the maps of the Yukon of the time sounded more like a warning. Whichever route you choose, you'll wish you took the other. For the gold prospectors, nothing could stop them in their feverish quest. Nothing except death. The Broughton Archipelago is a labyrinth of islands, channels, inlets, and fjords. It is located in British Columbia, 300 kilometers northwest of Vancouver. There are not many inhabitants here, and the communities are few and far between. There are no roads, so everything is done by water. Nikki knows this region where land and sea meet like the back of her hand. A few years ago, she embarked upon an exceptional life experience. With a friend, she decided to abandon her urban life and go settle on one of the islands of the archipelago, totally cut off from the rest of the world. They brought with them no items of modern society. They wanted to live like the very first humans. Nikki rarely returns to the cabin where she lived out her Robinson Crusoe dream.
Wow, it's so overgrown. Wow. I can't believe I lived in this. God. Moss is all falling off the roof. God. Gosh. Sticks. Huh. Wow. I remember when I built this. Oh, the shack. Spent, so many days harvesting clay from nearby creek and trying to chink all of the gaps in the winter. The wind would just rush through and blow out your candle, and it was really cold.
What prompted Nikki to undertake such an experience? What made her push herself to the limit? To survive in her cabin, she learned the primitive techniques used by the Indians, the first inhabitants of the Broughton Archipelago. She also learned to live in contact with wild animals, to observe and imitate them. Like them, she had to live off whatever food the forest and the sea offered her.
This is a black bear, and there's lots of black bears in the area. Sometimes you can get really close, and in the beginning of the spring, they're really a lot more shy. You know, I've been really close to bears, and it's mostly the energy you have. If you're really calm and you're not afraid, and they know you're not afraid, then they're not, and you can stalk right up to them. So it's mostly learning how to kind of act like a bear, too. You know, if you're acting like them, then they don't say, oh, here comes a human trudging along and making a lot of noise. And they kind of treat you like you're a bear. And you can get a lot closer and learn a lot more about them.
The fluctuating light of the sky filled with clouds blowing in from the vast Pacific doesn't seem to bother Nikki. She's right at home in this eerie atmosphere among these remote islands. She's enchanted by their mystery, and above all by the surprising encounters she makes here. Nikki appreciates what she calls this sweet wildness.
This is a colony of sea lions. They're here every year. They live here full time. When I first came, I didn't know that there was any sea lions here, but I could hear them roaring out here. And I was like, what is that? It's like a sea monster out here or something. And eventually I rode over and I found them. And they're here all year round. There can be up to 200-300 of them here.
Living in harmony with nature, leading a free life. Here, Nikki reconnected with what was tucked away deep inside her, a buried instinct, a fascination for the beauty of the world. In the Broughton Archipelago, she found what many people are seeking: a life that is reduced to its most simple expression: harmony at the heart of the elements: earth, air, fire, and water.
A lot of the primitive skills in the native cultures had aspects of, the physical skill, the mental skill, and the spiritual skill of them. And in the fire especially, the different parts had different meanings. And the spindle represented the people, and the fireboard was like the earth. And the bow together with the spindle made the four directions, this kind of cross element. And then the handhold is representative of the creator, the spirit that moves through all things, the thing that keeps everyone together. And when all of those parts are working in total harmony, it produces this new life, this little coal. And then you blow that into a flame, and it's magic.
The techniques Nikki is using to prepare and cook her fish are archaic, yet quite sophisticated. When she lived here in her cabin, her time was entirely taken up with essential activities: making fire, finding food, preparing and eating it.
When we first came out, we weren't very good at our skills. It was pretty, we got really hungry and skinny, and for about 3 months. Yeah, it was really tough. We almost had to leave. And then eventually we figured out how to catch fish, and we figured out how to row around and search for proper food, and we harvested some animals, and eventually we became really good at our skills. So good. Presentation might be lacking with the nails but boy, so good.
The vast range of coast mountains is situated more than 400 kilometers inland from the fjords where Nikki lives. In the northwest of British Columbia, the mountains are completely unspoiled. Their towering trees dwarf the humans at their feet. Michael and Hans have a good reputation as mountaineers. In a week, these two experienced climbers will ascend several passes and live up at an altitude where few men dare to venture. Skiing in these deserted regions demands total commitment. The slightest error can be very costly. There are no villages in these vast mountain ranges, and in the event of an accident, help can take several days to arrive. Michael and Hans have brought with them all the equipment they need to take on the mountains and its dangers. They know full well that now that they have set out, they have to rely entirely on themselves.
Yeah, I found my place. I mean, it was for me a big dream to be a mountain guide and go skiing in British Columbia. That's the reason I came over here, and I mean, I think it's the best skiing in the world, honestly, because I have seen lots of places, and the terrain is just endless. A lifetime would be too little to explore a small part of it. something bigger than what we humans can make, and we just are allowed to travel through it and see it. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's like the Earth has been forever like this, you know. We're just basically a guest on it, and we can have a glance, and the more you see, the more you want to see. That's probably part why you do those things. In a way, it's the edge of civilization here, you know. It's so untouched by humans that you really have this feeling you're one of the first people, only people to see this and discover it. But you discover it for yourself, you know. It's part of the journey.
This morning, the mountain is as unforgiving as ever, but Michael and Hans decide to continue their journey despite the blizzard. They want to continue their ascent in order to cross a pass towards sunnier slopes. In fact, they're hoping to climb a peak on the other side before nightfall. But when you're up in the mountains, you don't decide. The weather does.
I mean, you have time to think, like when you go up, for example, on the ski tour, you have to think. But all those thoughts, they float in and out, and for me, I think I open up and I enjoy, let's say the light is very special today, or the clouds are coming in and all those things, right? And it takes all your thoughts away from the daily life a little bit, and you deal more with the thing right there, because what's important right now is right there.
Michael heads the way. He's the leader and forges the path in the deep snow of the slope. The men have to stick together and remain highly focused on one and the same objective, reaching the summit.
We never have been here, so it's very satisfying because you made it your own way. You work for it hard, climb all the way until you reach it, and then it's always good to get up there because you see what's on the other side. One of the earliest motivations for mountain climbing is like, let's see what's on the other side of the summit. I like it like that.
In this silent universe, one must stay alert. The mountains of Western Canada are a harsh land, but those who dare venture here are rewarded with one of the most breathtaking spectacles our planet has to offer.